Hello, welcome to Channel X TV in partnership with Volo. Delighted today to be joined by Sophie, literally a couple of days before Black Friday this year, to talk about the sales. So, welcome, Sophie. How are you today?
I'm good, Chris. Thank you for having me on the channel.
You're very welcome. Now, before we get started on the Black Friday fun, can you just give us a bit of an idea of how big Mirakl is in the UK? Because you're not a household name, but you power an awful lot of platforms in the UK. So can you tell us a little bit about who uses the Mirakl platform and why it's so significant?
Yes. So Mirakl is a company, just for a bit of background, has been around for about 12 years. It's a French-based company. We've actually been in the UK for quite a while, but we've ramped up our presence in the UK significantly over the past few years. And we now are lucky to work with big household names in the UK, such as ASOS, Superdrug, B&Q, Debenhams, and several others. So lots of large customers in the UK, and we power their marketplaces.
You've just kind of reeled off the sort of elite retailers in the UK here. And
That's
the
right.
important thing is, obviously, as these retailers open a Mirakl-powered marketplace, it enables other brands and retailers to sell on their site. But let's focus on Black Friday, which is literally days away now. What are you seeing in the run-up to Black Friday this year? I mean, what sort of preparations are going on? What sort of things should people be worried about this year?
Yeah, I mean, we are always very focused on Black Friday, and as you mentioned, we're all hands on deck now because it's literally a couple of days away. But preparation starts really early, and so we work with our operators or Mirakl clients to start preparing Black Friday. Basically, around July is when it starts, and it's a lot of collaboration between Mirakl and the operators, but also a lot of cross-functional collaboration to have a successful Black Friday at the operator level, because they need to align internally on what do they think is the first party versus third party play for Black Friday, where are there opportunities for the marketplace to support the strategy. And then you have to translate that into productive conversations with the sellers and brands partners to tell them what you think is the potential, and make sure that you basically secure the right inventory at the right level and with the right prices from your seller and brand partners. And that collaboration lasts obviously all the way till Black Friday, where you have stock alerts in place and things like that when you need. But it is a long process, and it's a highly collaborative process also within the client organization. And in terms of consumer trends, which maybe was also behind your question, it's been a tough year for e-commerce in general. The beginning of the year was pretty good, and then we saw a softening for most of our operators in the UK and other geographies, and including the summer sale, which I think was a bit disappointing for a lot of operators, all the way till September, October, where the trends were softer than I think a lot of operators had forecasted. We do see things picking up since the beginning of November, so in the past 3 weeks, which I think the glass half full version means, okay, people were holding off on spending, but now it's the consumer spend is coming, and we've seen a lot of operators start their Black Friday promotions as early November. And so some of them call it Black Weeks, Black Months. And so some of the promotions have already been unveiled early November. So there's a bit of pulling forward that spend. But so far, the trends we see in our customers' gross merchandise value are very positive for November. So I'm very hopeful for a good Black Friday for everyone and Cyber Monday.
Now, you said something there that I find very interesting, which is for the marketplace operators looking at their own inventory as well as their marketplace retail partners' inventory for Black Friday promotions. And something we hear often is there's kind of a challenge within these businesses as they migrate from being a retail-only business to a marketplace on how their buyers operate. And It's the normal thing that the buyers see a marketplace retailer doing really, really well and think, well, I could be buying that and get commission on the sales of that. And equally, you get the retailers saying, well, I've just established this great product and now the marketplace itself is selling it. How do marketplace operators balance that conundrum to ensure that they've got the big diversity of stock that they can put marketing around without upsetting both their partners and their buyers?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's a highly needed collaboration between buyers and the marketplace teams within an operator. And where it works well is where you have very tight collaboration between those two teams, and they're in it together to grow every category sales, a little bit almost agnostic of whether it's first party or third party. Because I think the role of the first party team is to say, this is our strategy, here are the big bets we want to place in terms of categories, subcategories, also best selling SKUs, which usually they have a really good handle on. But then you can bring third party items and sellers and brand partners for a few different reasons. It can be sometimes backfilling when top seller items are out of stock. So we have a lot of operators with a buy box, and so the third party item comes in very handy when, especially in Black Friday season, you don't want to run out of stock of a best selling item. So that can be one. Another very typical use case where things third party partners can be super relevant is for a given category or even brand, offer a much longer tail assortment of SKUs. So that, especially in fashion, for example, you don't want to have in your warehouse every single size and color if it's not the best-selling one, but it is very handy to offer that extended choice to the customer when they want it. And then the third one I'd call out, where I think it's an exciting place for brand partners, is for the retailer to test out new categories or areas where it's a bit of a bet. It's not their core DNA, but they want to test it out and they think they have a role to play. And this is where you have super relevant brand partners that are expert in a given category, and they can bring in the full assortment, rightly priced, with pretty close to no risk for the operator.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I was amazed when I went onto B&Q's website and found that they now sell air fryers. And of course, B&Q don't, but they have third-party partners that do, and they're expanding their cookware ranges massively. And yeah, I just think you go to B&Q for wooden nails and screws and the hammers and maybe some gardening, but it's not my first thought for an air fryer, but it looks like they're doing really well with them.
So it's funny you mentioned air fryer. Air fryer has actually been a best-selling item in many different marketplaces this past year. And Debenhams, I think you often think of Debenhams, core DNA as more fashion, maybe beauty related. They also saw this trend around air fryer, and so for some time, it was the best-selling item on their marketplace as well. So when you have the customer audience that trusts your brand and customer value proposition, if you can also provide those best-selling, very relevant items, even if they're a little bit outside of your core historical assortment, you can see amazing GMV results. And we have several operators in the UK that have been big on air fryers very successfully.
So if you can tell us which product's going to be big this time next year, you'll be an absolute genius. But air fryers for 2023.
Exactly.
So I want to talk a little bit about the technology, because everyone knows that their websites are going to get busy on Black Friday. And in previous years, we've seen some retailers even go to the extent of having a queuing system to get on their website. They're so busy. What do Mirakl do to prepare? Because you can't say to sort of B&Q or the Superdrug, okay, we want to impact your whole website, so you only look after the marketplace part. But what do you put in place to make sure that the tech platform is robust enough and can scale enough in terms of instant traffic when everyone does dive onto the site?
Yes, absolutely. So it's a core focus for us. And if you came to our office on Black Friday, it's essentially a war room type of approach where our tech team is constantly looking at the platform, making sure there's no issue. And we're monitoring this, hour by hour, and very proud to say that there's never been any downtime. Like we've had 100% uptime in all Black Fridays. Despite I think total we have close to 1.6 billion API calls, so we handle very significant volumes.
1.6 billion API calls.
Yeah, in a year, that's how many we handle. And so with a big concentration on around Black Friday, and again, Black Friday kind of expanded, across all of November. But it looks like a giant war room essentially, where we monitor it very closely. But so far, we've had zero downtime on any of the peak moments.
Mm. And what would be your top tips for running a site like Mirakl, which isn't consumer facing but powers everything the consumer sees on these marketplaces? But for other brands and retailers maybe running their own website, what can they learn from Mirakl? How do you what are your kind of top tips for planning for events like this and keeping the platform robust?
Yeah, so Mirakl is really completely backend. So you, as a customer, you never really see Mirakl at all, but you sellers and operators work into the Mirakl back office, where sellers upload their products, their catalogs with a given price they define per item, and then the operator then sees all the transactions, etc. But it's very seamless, and we get very positive feedback on our product platform from both sellers and operators. It's being very easy to use, very reliable, as we just discussed. So I think it's around those themes, easy to use and reliable, I think, are the two top criteria. And then when it comes to the operator's website, it's of course making sure that you have no downtime around peak period. And then we always recommend that the marketplace and first-party experience are completely seamless. So a consumer logging into Debenhams should barely see the difference between marketplace, non-marketplace item. It should be easy to filter for marketplace items. It should be easy to check out. It should be one single checkout, very clearly laid out terms and conditions from vendors. So we put a big emphasis, because we think it's key to conversion and repeat purchases, that you create a completely seamless experience for the customer and agnostic of marketplace, non-marketplace.
Well, so we are coming up to Black Friday, and I'm not going to put you on the spot and ask you for your Black Friday predictions, especially we're recording this literally an hour before the Chancellor announces the autumn statement. So we don't even know what our finances in the UK are going to be like come Friday. But what are your predictions for 2024? What do you expect to see from marketplace operators? Are they going to move higher percentages of their revenues through marketplaces, or are we going to see more and more people opening marketplaces that are maybe smaller? What are you predicting for the next year? What's Mirakl's future look like?
Yeah. So 2024, I think from a consumer confidence standpoint, is probably going to continue to be a difficult year. We've seen it already in 2023, and I think all signs suggest that 2024 will be a continued year of thoughtful spending from customers, because there's a lack of customer confidence in the economy broadly, and you directly see that into the consumer trends. That said, I think we've seen in 2023 despite challenged store and e-commerce sales overall from our operators, we've seen very successful performance of our marketplaces, so the ones that are already live. And that is because for operators, it's a much more agile, risk-free, and often more profitable as well way to get customers what they want. And so we've seen retailers that were more careful on their inventory bets, on how much they really wanted to stock in warehouses, because they'd been burned by the past 3-4 years have been incredibly difficult to forecast between supply chain challenges, up and downs in consumer confidence with COVID and post-COVID store closures, etc. And so it's been hard to forecast. And so a number of retailers have said, you know what, I'm going to de-risk a lot of my inventory and instead rely on marketplace, at least for some categories, to meet consumer demands and what they want. And so the share of marketplace within e-commerce sales has increased significantly for many of our operators. And so my bet would be that 2024 for Mirakl will be very positive for our existing customers, because we'll see this continued trend of retailers that have a marketplace. They see it's working. It's a more profitable segment and more agile segment than their first party channel or assortment. And so they'll continue to use that opportunistically. That would be my bet.
Looking forward to catching up in the new year and seeing if that comes true. I have a strong feeling that is what's going to happen. But thank you so much for your time today, Sophie. And I'll let you get back to the war room to start preparing for 2 days' time for Black Friday.
That's right. Well, thank you very much, Chris, for your time.